You know what I'm interested? I'm interested. Oh, I'm interested in interest. Interested in interest. That's a strange thing. Okay, what have we been talking about? What have we been talking about? We've been talking about determining savings amounts, right? So we took the monthly income. We looked at the list up for the budget. Savings was 10%. And then when we were going to go through and determine how much we were going to save, all we had to do was that monthly income times the savings, and we ended up with the $250 for the month. We extended that into figuring out how much we're going to save for the whole year. Okay, and so if it was monthly, we knew we were going to multiply it by 12. Remember, we had that list of what were the terms and what number was related to that term. And so then I took my 250, I multiplied it by 12 because that was a monthly amount, and I said I'm putting aside $3,000 every year. Okay, and so if I have that monthly income, and I'm doing this one now, I'm using this other budget, I'm putting away 20%. Again, this times this is how I determine how much I'm putting aside for savings. So that's $500. Because it's monthly, again, I'm going to multiply by 12 to determine that annual amount. So I take my 500, I multiply it by 12 months, and that gives me $6,000 that I put into the account. So I got that money in the account, so I'm saving it. Okay? What am I doing? Am I just putting it in a jar? No, I'm putting it into the bank. And so now what I want to be able to do is figure out the interest that I'm earning on this. And so different banks have different interest rates, and it's important for you to understand what it is expected of you. There's always that fine print. Here's some fine print. Here's some even finer print. What is expected of you to be able to get the rate that they're sharing with you. Otherwise, it's something different. Okay? So if we're going to determine compound interest, that's the way you want to go. You want to get compound interest. And that's saying I'm going to earn interest on the interest that the bank pays to me. So I put money in, they pay me money to have the money there, right? That's what they're doing. They're giving me money for letting my money sit at the bank. That's what interest is. Okay? And so I'm going to make some money just by putting it in there. And so a quick example. So I put $5,000 in. Say in 1 month I earned $12.50 of interest. So at the end of the month now, I have this much in my account, $5,012.50. So now the next month, look at this, I earned $12.53. So even though it's the same amount of time, I earned just a little bit more. Now it's not a lot, that 3 cents, but it's because they now determine the interest on this amount, not just the original that I put in. So they're adding in an amount of money and then finding interest on that as well. And so in 2 months, they have just given me $25.03 for letting the money sit there in 2 months. I'll take that free money. Okay? And so now, here's what we need to look at. What's the formula for determining compound interest? Right there. Holy mackerel, that looks kind of crazy, doesn't it? Well, let's talk about what all these letters are. Okay? A, right here, it's the amount of money that you're going to have in the account after interest is added on. Okay? So here's how much. I've left it in for 5 years. Here's the amount of money that's in my account. That's what this number will be when I do the math. P, it's called the principal, but it's just how much did you put in the account? So I put 5,000 in. Boom, there's my p-value. R is whatever your interest rate is, and keep in mind when you do that, you move that decimal point when you do the math, and you'll see that. T is just how many years. How many years are you going to leave that thing in the account? And there are some accounts where it says you got to leave it in for a minimum chunk of time. And then N is how many times per year the interest is added in. We're going to be using, on all of the work we're doing right now, we're going to be using 12 for that because we're thinking monthly. And so here's an example with some numbers. I'm saying that P is $1,000. The rate is 2.5%, R is 2.5. I'm leaving it in for 5 years, so that's T. And N, it's compounded monthly, so that means N is equal to 12. So now here's what it looks like when I put the numbers in. A is equal to, there's the 1,000 because that's P. Remember, 0.025, so I move the decimal point on that. I move it over 2 places like we always do with percents. So I just move that over, and then the 12 is going to be there, and then T is 5. There it is. Now, do you know how to type this thing in? Because that's going to be key. You have to be able to know how to tell the calculator to do the math that you want it to do. Here's the answer that you should get. What I want you to do right now, seriously, is pause this recording and do this math and see if you get that answer. Okay? So take a moment, pause, do it. Now, if you struggled using this method, you're not quite sure how to type that into your calculator, I'm going to show you another way that you can do it. And you can see that all I did was take the R number right here, divided by, because a fraction is just division, divided by the 12, plus 1, and then hit equals. This key is whatever your exponent key is on your calculator. Mine has this. I have other calculators that have an X to the Y. Okay? No numbers on that key. Okay? And then I put these parentheses in. You got to have it. And then I do 12 times 5 and then equals and then times 1,000. So if you do it in this order and you cannot miss one keystroke, where it says equal, you better press equal. Where it has the parentheses, you got to press those parentheses in. Okay? And you should get the same answer. And so I want you to practice it this way. If you struggled with this method of typing that into the calculator, then use this. This is the answer that you will get. So again, pause the recording for a moment and just practice to make sure that you get this answer. And so again, what we're looking at are two different ways that you can type it in. I don't care which way. You can type it in exactly as the formula looks if your calculator will do that and you know how to tell it to do that. Okay? Pardon me. Or you can type it in like this. I'm guaranteeing you that this will work. Guaranteed. You just have to make sure that you're hitting every keystroke. Alright? So here we go. Here's another example. P is 4,500. R is 3.25%. T is 10 years. And again, we're going to use N as 12. So we're compounding monthly. So what we want to do is think about what numbers go in here. Okay? So what number are we going to put right there? Yeah, the 4,500. What's going to go right here? Again, remember this is R and we have to move the decimal 2 places before we put it in there. Awesome, 0.0325. And then here, what do we put in? That's our value for T. That's 10. And again, here's the answer that you should get when you do this math. Again, pause for a second just to check and see, do you get that answer? And again, if there's a struggle, then here is that other way of doing that same problem. Again, you see the same numbers, 4,500, there it is, 10, there it is, 0.0325, there it is. And you should get this answer, that $6,225.40. Remember to round correctly. All right, so take a moment, pause it, do the math, make sure that you can tell it correctly. All right, here's another one. I have $78.50 for the principal, 4.1%, 20 years, compounded monthly. Again, we're using N equal to 12. So we want to determine what numbers go in there. So take a moment, think about what's going to go in. Okay. So we got P is 7850, so there it is. 0.041 for R. Remember, we always move that decimal 2 places. And then T is equal to 20. All right. And again, check the math. Practice doing it. Again, the only way you can get better at doing this is by practicing it. There's the answer that you should get, the $17,798.53. Again, round correctly. And again, if you had trouble typing it in like this, here's what it would look like to type it in that other method. Okay? So again, just take a moment, make sure that you get that answer. That's the key. If you need to pause to practice it, then do so. And again, here's my reminder. You're going to type it in whichever way you choose. Like that, just as the formula is written out, or like this. You decide. You're the only one who can make that decision about which way works better for you. So make that choice. Again, here's another little bit of practice time just in regard to typing it in. I told you that P was 500. I told you that R was 4.8%, and I told you that it was going in for 15 years. And I mentioned earlier that we're going to use n equal to 12 all the time right now. Okay? So again, here's an opportunity to practice, just to make sure. And here's another opportunity to practice. And then at some point, just take a moment and look at those two answers that you got compared to how much you put in, the P value, and then look at the interest rate and the number of years, just as something to think about. And so here, this was our focus, the compound interest. This was what we were working on right now. Here's that formula. A, how much I've got in the account after the interest is earned, so how much at the end of the time. P, how much should I put into the account? R is that interest rate that they're paying. Remember to move the decimal 2 places over. T is how many years, and N is going to be the number of times per year, but we said that at this point we're going to be looking at N being equal to 12 right now, because most of those are adding it in on a monthly basis. Okay, and then the two methods in terms of typing it into your calculator, I don't care which way you use, you just determine which way works best for you. That's all that matters. That's why I had those practice problems in here for you to just go through and do that. Type it in, make sure you know what you're doing as far as typing it in, because remember, the calculator is going to give the answer to the problem that you typed in, not necessarily the problem that you meant to type in. Okay, so you got to know how to tell it correctly. And so now we're going to get some work done, and here we go. We're doing the 22 determining compound interest class kick assignment. I'm looking forward to your wonderful work.